Hello everyone and welcome to today's conspiracy, where today we are going to be looking into the adventures of Ash Ketchum in Pokemon and look into whether his adventures are all part of a coma state dream that he is going through. So in Pokemon, you see that Ash Ketchum wants to be the very best Pokemon trainer, catching Pokemon that will help him out on his journey, as well as meeting new people along the way. So why is it that people believe that Ash Ketchum is in a coma? And if so, how did it get to this point? Well, this all started off in the very first episode of Pokemon. So in that first episode, you'll see that Ash is dreaming about the adventures that he will be going on. Will he start with a Bulbasaur? Will he start with a Charmander? Or will he start with a Squirtle? Well, it's none of them three, because he overslept and he was left with whatever Pokemon Professor Oak had left, and that was Pikachu. And already from that very first episode as well, and first impressions, this Pikachu is a massive. Things are off to a flyer for Ash. Now that he is on his adventure and still trying to convince Pikachu to be on his side essentially, he decides that he needs to catch more Pokemon. And the next Pokemon he tries to catch is a lovely Sparrow. He doesn't battle it because the Pikachu is just refusing to do anything that Ash says. So what does Ash do? He throws a rock at the Sparrow. Yeah, great idea, Ash, because him and Pikachu are now running away from a flock of Sparrow because it off that first Sparrow that he threw the rock at. So yay! Eventually, the Sparrow catch up with Ash and Pikachu after Ash fell off a bike that he stole. As they fall off the bike, Pikachu is injured, as well as Ash not being able to continue on. So what does Pikachu decide to do as a last resort? He uses a Thunderbolt to attack the Sparrow in the hope that they would run away or faint, or just to stop this madness that's going on. And from this Thunderbolt that Pikachu uses, Ash is now placed in a coma. He is now living this fantasy where he can go on multiple adventures in a fairly civilized world, where in every region that he goes to, no one has heard of him, despite the fact that in near enough every Pokemon League that Ash has been involved in, he has at least reached the last 16 in all of them. Like, surely you would know who this person is. Also, why is it that all the police officers and all the nurses look exactly the same? Are they all related to each other, hence why they all look the same? Or is it that in Ash's comatized state, he needs to feel safe in his fantasy? So by having police officers and nurses that look the same, maybe that's his way of feeling protected and that he feels safe in this fantasy that he lives in. You then look at other characters in the show. Have you ever wondered why Brock never seems to have any luck with the ladies? It can be both cringy but also really funny as well. It is said that Brock represents Ash's sexuality. I don't necessarily think that Ash would be starting puberty at the age of 10 unless he was really developed. Maybe in a few years, possibly, but that's why Brock is there, so that he is that representation of that side of Ash. Then you got Misty. The bike that Ash stole was actually Misty's. Oddly enough, you could say that Ash's first love was Misty, and that he wanted to wait until he was mature enough to make things progress, because at the age of 10 you probably don't want to be doing that right now. But because of him waiting around, she became really bossy and just so annoying, and eventually she is then pushed to the side by Ash. I mean, to be honest, if you watch the show, you'll realise how annoying she is. The next lot of characters are Ash's rivals, in particular Gary. So with any of Ash's rivals, they are always one step ahead of him, and his rivals are said to show the ideals that Ash wants in life. A reason to be a better trainer and a better person. Not to forget that if Ash does realise that he is in a coma, he'll be in a worse state than he was before. Now we've got Team Rocket. Now James represents the gullible side to Ash, since James always goes along with every plan of Team Rocket. But we also see the amount of care that James shows for his Pokemon, and it's something that Ash does quite a bit in the Pokemon shows, taking on Pokemon when no one else wants them. Jessie represents the vanity and the manipulative side of things. She's mostly in charge when it comes to sorting out these plans, and we can see how vain she can be. And Meowth represents the possibility of change. I mean, don't you think it's a bit bizarre that Team Rocket would always cheer on Ash at every Pokemon League, despite the fact that Team Rocket are always trying to steal Pikachu? According to the theory, Team Rocket don't actually exist in the real world. Team Rocket is a way of showing the negative qualities to Ash, showing that he's not going to be perfect and accepting that side of things. Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, showcases some dad-like issues for Ash. Given that we don't know who Ash's father is, James, Jessie and Meowth could be the ones to try and please that aspect. But then again, we don't really see any father-like figures in any of the Pokemon games that I've ever played. To be honest, I think it's just a trait of Pokemon that we don't see any father figures in Pokemon. So that is most of this theory summed up. Looking at this theory as a whole, I had always wondered why Ash never really aged, but it is probably most to do with the fact that the creators are still always looking to try and relate to children no matter what year it is. Because even though I watched Pokemon when I was younger, if you had Ash growing up so that he would be like in his 30s in 2020, then you're probably not going to get that same attachment from children who are younger than me, and it wouldn't be the same if Ash was growing up along with everyone else around him. Also, I would say that I'm not too fully convinced on the characters being certain traits and personalities or representations for Ash, mostly to do with the fact that Brock and Misty appear in the Pokemon games and they come across so different compared to in the show. And even in Pokemon Origins, if you ever watched that, Brock is so much like his game character come to life, and it's so different to how he's perceived in the normal shows that we all grew up watching. Also, these are the characters that appear in the very first few seasons of Pokemon. What about the characters that appear in the Hoenn region, like May and Max? You then have Dawn in the Sinnoh region. You then look at the Unova region, in which Brock doesn't appear in it anymore, and you've got Silent and Iris. Like, what do they represent in the show? And even like the Carlos region, Clement, Bonnie, Serena, what do they represent in all of this? Surely if you're going to be saying that these are representations of Ash, then you need to continue that theory on. Anyway, that is where I'm going to be ending today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you soon with another video. Peace.